may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and everyone watching. This is the meeting of the Trees and Green Infrastructure Committee. It is Friday, May 21st. I guess what will be our last virtual meeting. We'll talk about the schedule later, but with City Hall reopening, we won't be virtual, which also means we can go a little longer than an hour in the future. First, I'll do the roll call, and then we'll talk about the minutes. Joan Flaherty.
Here.
Andrea Hoffman.
Here.
Elise Burns.
Here.
Richard Byrne.
Good morning. Here.
Bob Van Horn.
Here.
And Liz Lingo is joining us. And we have two members not here today, Catherine Down, and it does not appear that Liza Trey is on board, but we do have a quorum and we can continue. I had sent out the minutes, and thanks once again to Joan, who really does an incredible job capturing all the detail. So does anybody have any comments or questions about anything in it? Okay, then can we get a motion to approve them?
I move to approve the minutes
Second.
Of April 16th.
of April 16th.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, approved, thanks. I have not received any correspondence or heard from Ann that any was received by the city, so I'm going to assume there's not any. And I do have a couple of updates. Actually, this is sort of exciting. I just learned this week of some new donations that we have gotten in just in the last several weeks. And it's $3,000 worth of new donations.
Wow.
There are 4 of the $350 leaves, 1 $600 and 1 $1,000. So that is really, I was thrilled to learn that.
Wow.
And in fact, it occurs to me now that being able to get, the ongoing donations without publicity, because we really haven't had any publicity since December, is a testament to the excellent groundwork that was laid by, our former member, Terry Eskew. She poured her heart and soul into this project, and the details of the leaves and the sculpture, I think, are what people see today. And it inspires them to contribute because it makes it very real, which is not to say that we shouldn't have ongoing publicity. So that's my second update. That yesterday I met with Lynn Cohn, and she's the new communications director in the city. And I talked to her. I shared with her previous press releases we had done, and of course she's familiar with the commemorative tree part of the website. And we talked about, what to do for the next one. The last press release was based sort of on our display from the farmers market. And generally for this kind of release, we want to have some sort of hook, some sort of event that's unique to us. Arbor Day is obviously an event, but we want to have something that's unique that can help publicize what we do. So the Lake Avenue streetscape has been, we've been looking forward to that as a real opportunity to photograph, what we've contributed to that project, since the commemorative tree program is contributing, 15 or 16 trees to that project. And so that's what I talked to Lynn about, and we'll get an update from Liz in a few minutes about that. I just don't know the timing because the trees haven't gone in yet, and apparently they still will go in this part of the year. We won't have to wait till the fall, but I think our ability to do the press release to some extent depends on when that can happen. But I hope when it does that you all are available one day for a photo to go along with the press release as well. But the other thing Lynn is doing is she's just started a new city newsletter that you all might have seen. It's called Lines in the Sand. And it's really neat. It's got some great graphics, and she's aiming to do that, once or twice a month. So she can also put, tree related updates in that. So I feel good about the ongoing publicity, but as I said, we're getting donations even beside that because of the work that's been done in the past. So I feel good about that.
So
Yeah, that's great.
can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So if we have something, for example, I'm going to talk about it shortly, but we inaugurated the outdoor learning center, the outdoor classroom at Rehoboth Elementary. I took some pictures of that. Would that be the kind of thing that she would be writing up? It's a community
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps, and certainly talk about that when you do your update.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of things we can do
Okay.
for president. I just had always thought, and I remember Tony even saying that, you know, once that Lake Avenue streetscape project came along, that would be a really good visible thing for us
Yes.
to be pictured on. So, and yeah, so this is a good segue into our first order of old business, which is the recap of Arbor Day. But before Andrea gives that update, let me just say that, you know, in all the Arbor Days I've been to locally, I think this was far and away the best one ever. And so Andrea did a wonderful job putting it all together. And of course, we had a little secret there that we couldn't let out until the day of the event, and that is that the governor joined in, as did several cabinet members. And the reason for that is they were trying to keep the crowds down. So they didn't want the world at large, you know, to know that the dignitaries from the state were coming and, you know, have hundreds of people show up, because it was still during, you know, COVID restriction times. But that gave a level of a celebration to it that we don't normally have. And we were recognized for 30 years. And we were the state's official Arbor Day site. So it was quite a feather in the cap of Rehoboth that day. But
Here, Andrea. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done to all of you.
There are a lot of people who contributed, but
so I'll
thank you.
turn it over to Andrea to give a recap, since I guess a lot of us weren't. I was there. Some of us were there.
Yeah, we were there. It was great, Andrea.
Well, thank you very much. Well, as Susan said, we hosted the governor, and we learned about this in March, and it was kind of, it was a little scary at first, because, you know, it had been kind of a down home event, but anyway, we did pull it off. So we heard from the Secretary of Agriculture and the Chief Forester, and our mayor stood up and said some wonderful things about trees and received the Tree City 30-year award. So there were lots of great words spoken about trees. And I hope that actions will follow those lovely words. So they were all spoken publicly. Anyway, for me, the best thing about this event really is that so many parts of the community came together for one event. The kids at the school, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened after this program, but it was wonderful to see all the kids and hear them singing their songs. And of course, they'll be the stewards in years to come of all our trees. The Rehoboth Art League this year was very special, because one of our fifth graders at Rehoboth Elementary was a poster winner for the statewide contest, which was very exciting. And more on that in a minute, because she actually received in her honor there is a third tree now at Rehoboth Elementary that was planted in her honor. So more about that. In addition, so to the school, the elementary school, we had the Art League involved, the city, us, and we now have a great partnership with the State Forest Service. Particularly someone who has been very involved, their director of education, Ashley Melvin, has really become a close partner. And as a result of her, I guess, activities and help on Arbor Day, she has designated Rehoboth Elementary School as the State Forest Service site of the Outdoor Classroom Initiative. So she has returned a week ago today. She came back, and if you'll recall, those of you that were there, those poor fifth graders sat through 5 adult speeches and did not get a chance to have time with Ashley for their own program. And she graciously returned on last Friday, and went through 4 programs with each of the 5th grades. And Liz was there, we initiated the outdoor classroom, and it is now going to be her test site for a new curriculum. So that was very, very exciting, and really all came as a result of her working with us on Arbor Day. Moving forward, the school has actually, I think, due to Jackie Kissel, who was Teacher of the Year and the coordinator for Arbor Day at Rehoboth Elementary, they are going to expand the program, and the hope is that we will have kindergarten through 5th grade involved in the poster contest next year. And we are already, the Forest Service and Jackie and I are already working on next year's program. So the one thing that is hanging that I do want to talk about is the elementary school. I was in touch with the facilities manager for the Sussex County schools. And as some of you know, there is no irrigation at the school. They plant and they walk, and that's it. We now have planted 3 trees, 2 of them oaks. And I feel that given all the publicity, we really this year should take some time and make sure those trees are watered. So I did call the facilities manager, and he agreed that they should do something this year. So we have some cooperation from them, not yet well defined, but I spoke with Susan, and I'd like to purchase a long hose. And I would like to set up a schedule between us and perhaps the tree tender group along with the school to make sure that these trees are watered, that the bags, there are bags, Liz provided some bags, and that the bags are filled once a week through November. So that is something that has yet to be worked out, but it is my hope that we will do that. So any questions, any comments, things we could do better, additional things?
So do you need to also take care of that 3rd tree that went in too, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should.
think
The
we
oaks are, I mean, the oaks I care, yeah. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say, because I cannot really tell. I know my oak trees, I know my maple trees. I'm not sure what that 3rd tree was.
Okay. So it was the tree that was planted along in the road there.
The 3rd, yes, along the
okay.
road. Do you know what it is, Elise?
No,
Do you,
I don't.
I
Hopefully
actually,
Liz does.
Liz, do you know what it is?
I couldn't tell.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh,
Liz?
she's muted. That's all right. She'll get there. She's muted.
Andrea, that's the guy you want to hire to water the trees. Do you see them?
Does she?
Liz is still muted.
They can water from 250 feet.
I hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't aware a 3rd tree had been planted, so I'm not going to be helpful knowing what it is.
It was
Oh,
there.
okay. Yeah, Liz was sorry, you weren't there.
It was there the day of.
No,
Oh, this is
no,
an additional one because there's another one there.
no, oh,
We were
we,
there.
okay, then we planted, oh, I know what you're talking about. No, we planted a new tree last Friday.
Oh, okay. No,
And actually, what was interesting about the tree is the kids planted it. Ashley, just for the next time we have a program, she has 30 spades. So each of the kids got to lift up. She actually taught them how to plant a tree. No, they threw some dirt on it, Elise. They didn't actually stick it in the ground, but they did get their hands, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. It was very nice.
So it's near the other 2?
Yes, it's right beside the other 2. And that was the tree in honor of the 5th grade winner. So it was very nice.
Yeah. Joan.
Andrea, does the tree have a bag?
No,
It
doesn't.
need one, definitely in that area.
Okay. Liz, can you spare another bag?
Yeah.
Andrea,
Well,
Thank
just
you.
but now we had making multiple trips and stuff, so I wish I had known about it. But where's the water gonna come from, guys?
that's my
It's
question.
I have the maintenance guys showed me where the spigot is. It's 250 feet. I had Tom Evans pace it out, and it's about 250 feet.
Is it the one on the corner of the building by like the fire lane?
Yes,
It's pretty far.
yes.
So
Did
you're
it-
going to need a reel as well. So you'll need a a hose and a hose reel.
Thank you. We will need a reel, because I have a, there's a big dolly there that I was just gonna throw it on, and they told me I could leave it and they'd protect the hose. So you think I need a reel in
I
addition?
don't know.
I'm just wondering, I'm trying to get an idea of cost here, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be outrageous. I'm just wondering if there's a way you could get permission. I mean, you're going to have a dolly, you're going to be dragging that in and out. It would be a lot easier to have a hose reel if you're going to have a hose that's 200, a combination of hoses that's 250 feet or so. It would make it a lot easier on the folks tending the trees to just be able to pull that out, water it, fill up the bags quickly, and reel it back up. That doesn't seem like a huge cost. I don't know, is there a way we could attach it somehow? Can we get permission for that? These are sort of just questions I have, and then I think maybe we could, talk about the cost and how to do this, because it's important to keep those trees healthy and growing, and they're going to need water, and we have the people who want to do it. We just need a little bit of.
Aren't don't the tree tenders? I feel like I saw Joe may know better, but wasn't in an email that you guys have a hose reel or
hose.
something?
We have a hose, but I don't know the length of it. It might be just 150 feet. I'm not sure, but we do.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna find a 250-foot hose. That'll be
right.
Yeah, you'll have to connect multiples together.
I think
that's it.
The hose that we did buy, or I think either Suzanne donated it or Cindy bought one, but it's a very light hose. I mean, that's the only thing I just replaced all of my hoses at home because some of them were so heavy to try to drag out.
Yeah, the commercial ones that actually last, those are going to be heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah, the residential light use that'll decay in the sun in a few years. Right. Those will be lightweight and easy to move around.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend then, Liz? We can talk about that, but what would you recommend we do?
I would recommend that you would try and borrow from the Rehoboth and Bloom and tree tenders, so you don't have to shell out a few $100s.
It's not long enough, for sure. I mean, I spoke to Suzanne. It's not long enough. We have to buy one.
Or get another one to hook onto that.
Or get another one to hook onto that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what did the elementary school say? Because they should have hoses.
Yeah. They don't have a hose that long. And they didn't
No, but you're gonna have to hook multiple hoses together. They don't make. I mean, if they make a 250-foot hose, it will be an absurd price. Like you wouldn't be able to carry it around.
Right.
I think. I mean, 50 feet, maybe 100 feet, you can find in a hose. I don't think they usually go beyond that.
Correct.
My thought. But I've always found, like at the bandstand when we do that watering, I hate the hose reels. I think it's more of a pain in the butt to reel it in and unreel it than it is to just coil up the hose and then attach them. So that's my own personal, that's how we do it.
Well, so but a lightweight hose would be best because it would be easier to handle for us, and we may have to replace it, but a couple of lightweight.
Yeah, I don't buy those. We buy the commercial because it gets drug across the concrete there. So it would never last if it was one of those lightweight, like residential ones.
But you don't really need the hose to last a lifetime.
Right.
What you're looking at is just a year or two.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to make it as easy as possible for this to happen because, the people are going to be the tree tenders, whoever's doing this. You need to make it a simple process for them as quickly as possible. A lightweight hose would do it. You could put two 100 and a 50-foot hose together or three 100s together. They're lightweight, residential. I have them. I did the same thing. I replaced all the hoses here and in Philadelphia. And we're looking at maybe 2 years. They'll last that long.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Robert, as long as you've spoken up, can we add you to the group who could possibly go over there at some point?
Yes, please do. And
all right.
Yeah. And
I can add me to the group. I go through that.
Thank you. Oh, thank you
twice
all.
a day.
Okay.
And,
you guys
and
make sure you
Joey
do it in
from doing his business on the trees, and so I'm happy to help.
Excellent. Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
And when you guys do a schedule, make sure you do with like 2 people though, so it's easier.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Because
Two at a
otherwise
time.
you end up having to walk like 5 miles back and forth to hook all the hoses up and then go back, turn it on and turn it off to shut it.
Right. Okay.
But that's more
Very-
steps.
Okay. Thank you all so much.
And it's
Oh,
once a week you're going to be doing the water, and the ideal would be once a week. Or
once a week. Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's a great update and a lot of progress with the
Excellent.
the Arbor Day trees. Let me go back to my agenda. Sorry, I think I just lost where the agenda was. Okay, so we're up to B, which is the continuation of discussion of the tree inventory and the next steps in the 10-year tree plan and priority plantings. And I was very pleased to talk to Liz this week and to get from her some of the documents, related to this. And specifically the list, and I sent this all out, to you all yesterday, the list of street tree possibilities, all the available spots around town, as well as a plant matrix that Liz had put together, I guess, a few years ago, right, Liz, when you first got here?
Yeah.
As to what it might look like to take those tree planting spaces and actually accomplish them all over a period. Actually, there's an 11th year on here with including the ocean blocks. But I guess I just wanted to talk about that and see how we could, move forward with it, formalize it. I mean, I don't know that one can plan all 10 years. I mean, this is great as a working document, but I think Liz has even said you can't really look ahead that far. So, and I don't know whether that means our task would be to identify the next 2 years as to try to, carve that in stone so that we know we're actually doing it, or what. But it's great data to have. It's something I think that really gives us a picture of what we're looking at for street trees. So I'll open it up to questions from that. Anything? Well, Liz, let me ask you this. For the current year, I know you had said there were some requests. There are, I think you were going to do 2 on that one house at the corner of Munson and Scarborough, right?
I think it was 3 actually.
Okay.
We had
And
room for 3.
yeah, and then there were a few others, right, that had been requested.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many others?
I don't have that memorized off the top of my head. At least 2 or 3, I want to say.
Okay. So we've got 5 or 6 so far. Have you identified any other areas this year? I mean, looking at your own, priorities and the available spots and all that, have you identified beyond those that have been requested any others to do this year?
Well, we had a couple of trees going in actually they're already in. Linden's going in at Grove Park, and then we have Lake Avenue Phase 2. So
Right, I'm on that street
that
trees.
would put us at like, I don't know, maybe 25 trees, and then potentially we have State Road if that all plays out, which I'm not sure we'll even be able to put trees in there, but we're trying. So
The triangle, you mean?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I actually thought that was on hold because I don't know.
Well, we had some movement after Arbor Day, so
Really?
yeah, it's kind of fun because like those type of events, especially when they go off very well and have a positive tone to them, I think it maybe generated, and then Commissioner Byrne was kind of in the background prodding a little too, so he might want to say more about that, but
Yeah. Yeah, please give an
yeah,
update.
so it's a distinct possibility probably for the first time, I'll say.
Okay. Dick, you have more?
Let me jump in quickly. I got distracted here because of something going on outside my window and I had to close the window. So I missed the specifics of the reference to me.
The
I'm
triangle.
sorry.
The triangle on State Road and
Oh,
the and
I
develop.
could give a very quick update.
Yeah.
Yes. In talking with Senator Lopez and Representative Speaker Schwarzkopf, we have secured $50,000 post July 1 money. It's CTF money, Community Transportation Funds. And the senator in particular, but both have, but I went to the senator first, has put in writing, it said that the 50,000 is ours. I submitted the draft plan that Katie and Liz had done a year plus ago. And I emphasize the word draft because we all know that that has to be changed and updated given the signage that is there. And it is 50,000. It sounds like a lot for a garden, but it includes irrigation.
That's
And
good. That's great.
So we have
Wow.
that money. I did this in coordination and communication with the city manager and so on. So we are on board. I suppose the challenge, and Liz may be the first to say this, will be kind of the staff power to now get this moving ahead post July 1, but everything is in place for the dollars.
Yeah, we've already started, so we'll have to do a little bit of redesigning, but I don't think it'll be a dramatic thing for Katie to do since she did the original design. It'll be simpler. And then we'll have to get everything out for pricing again. And it has to go through a specific review process, I guess, for the CTF fund. So Evan has been working on that. I sent him like our draft plan and a couple of other things that he has to submit. So I've never been involved in that process before, and he has. So he's going to be the guiding hand in that one.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be an issue labor wise, getting it all ready for fall.
I was just going to ask that. So this is a fall planting.
Wow.
Right. And I was going to ask you something else. But so does Del Dot have to also approve it? The plan?
Yeah, it's owned by the state,
Right.
and they have a lot of really specific requirements in
I had
terms
heard
of
that.
height and stuff like that. Although I feel like it's going to be hard for them to hold to those when the sign is because like to me, trees don't really block your view. It's
Right.
just a trunk. It's more the shrubs that are like 4
Yeah.
feet tall.
Right.
But Del Dot has a rule that nothing can be taller than like 3.5 feet or something like that. But I find that hard to enforce when
Yeah.
they literally do nothing to it. They mow it like once a month. So we'll see.
I mean,
Yeah,
at that
and-
height, we're not going to have any actual trees there. Is that the idea, or?
We put them in the design, so we're trying, but I don't know how it'll come out. Because to me, you need that. I mean, if Katie were here, she'd say like the height. You need that change in height. I mean, nobody wants to look at a flat landscape that's all 2 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
hopefully we'll be able to we had like 3 small trees in there. So hopefully 3 small native trees. So hopefully we'll be able to at least get that in there, which would be a nice organization. But,
And Susan, let me just quickly add, Del Dot did give an initial approval to go ahead, do the draft plan, that we're hearing about, and to move this process ahead. And so they will finalize or approve a final plan. On the other hand, I can also say the Senator Lopez made a point in his letter back to me of copying a Del Dot person that approves this and giving strong support for moving it ahead. So, that's what makes a difference, is
Right.
that you get the
Definitely.
local elected officials at that level to say,
Yeah.
yes, let's do it. Here's the money.
Right.
well, and Commissioner Byrne, I think you missed the part where I said at the beginning that this kind of, I know we've all been working on it behind the scenes for like over a year now, but it kind of piggybacked right off the Arbor Day celebration.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it was a perfect time to hit them back up.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks again to
Great.
those of you that laid the groundwork. I mean, not only
Yeah.
the last year, Liz,
Yeah.
but having such a successful Arbor Day, bringing in the folks from Dover that you did, it laid the groundwork perfectly well. Pete and Ernie
It really did.
are very excited.
And you had a question?
It was such perfect timing.
Yeah.
Good.
I have a question. Are the trees, the oak trees still part of the plan? The oak trees that were going to be in front of the hotel?
Oh, that's,
that-
let's
oh,
get
can
to
we-
that. Let me finish
That's-
this one and then we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Elise.
I had a question about maintenance. Liz, are you saying then that Del Dot would be responsible for maintaining the plantings?
No,
Going
they
forward?
won't do anything.
They won't do anything. Okay.
We'll be eliminating the little maintenance they do.
The grass cutting.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll have,
Well, they treat that the same way as they treat the median in Route 1, which they do what, once a month, maybe?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be lightening their load a little, but
Okay. So we're taking, okay. The city's taking it on. Okay.
yeah.
what are the 3 trees that are in the plan?
I'm sorry.
You say there were 3 trees that you tried that were in the plan that were approved by Dell. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, they were Amelanchier.
Okay. How tall, how are they, how
Service
tall do
area.
they get?
Sorry.
How tall do they get?
15.
I can't remember the specific variety it was, but they're generally considered like a small species, small flowering. So maybe 20 to 25.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, still trees, right?
Yeah. They're still native trees.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is it's a great project. I'm glad to hear it coming along. And what started this discussion is we were talking about the plant matrix for street trees. And so then we went
Yeah.
that to talk about other tree planting projects. So I guess we can go, since Andrea asked the question, we can talk about the Lake Avenue streetscape next, but then I want to circle back to street trees to see if there's any more, room in our commemorative tree budget or otherwise for realizing some of those available spots for street trees as well this year. But anyway, on to the Lake Avenue. Liz, you and I talked the other day, and I think you said that not all the trees were going to be available, but you thought some would be available before the season, right?
No, they should be able to get everything done before the official end of spring.
Really? Okay. Everything.
Yeah, we haven't had any substitutions at this time, but that would be normal in a landscape plan of this size to have a few subs. So they'll run those by both Katie. If it's a question mark for me, I'll probably run them all by Katie anyways, tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Since it was her design.
Do you have
And it's gonna be like definitely a showpiece. It's gonna be beautiful. So
Yeah.
probably the nicest landscaping we have on municipal property.
right? No, that's why it's such a
In
great.
my hope, at least, and how it looks on paper.
Yeah. Do you have a approximate target date for when that's going in?
Yeah, so it'll be done in the next month, hopefully.
Okay, so by June 15th or thereabouts, June 20th, into
Yeah,
June.
hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so perhaps then at the next meeting, it'll have already been started and we can zero in there on a date for taking pictures over there.
Yeah. I mean, that's up to you guys when you want to take pictures. Like it'll usually when you first plant things, it looks new and not filled out. It usually takes a couple of years, but I don't think we want to wait for that. So
yeah, I'm hoping there'll be enough, to be able to get some good photo ops with.
I think so. I think it'll look nice when they first put it in.
Right. Yeah. And then you mentioned the ones, it's lindens that went in at Grove Park.
Yeah, I can't remember which kind of lindens, but it was the native. There's a couple of different native ones. I just can't remember which one I chose.
And 4 of them.
No, 2. There were originally, because we're pretty heavily wooded there in the park, so there's not really much room for new trees to survive there. But we had these 2 islands in the middle of the parking lot that just had like overgrown juniper shrubs in them. So we ripped all that out and put 2 trees in.
Okay. Well then, this is a good lineup for the year. If we have 3 in the State Road Triangle and we've got 16 at Lake Avenue and 2 in Grove Park and 5 street trees earmarked already, we're doing pretty well. See, that's 19, 21, 26. But do we have, I think we have a little bit more room in the budget for some more street trees.
Well, yeah, because it's not just that I use to plant trees out of, right? I have
I know, yeah.
two other main budget categories that are for tree pruning, tree maintenance, and
Right.
landscaping.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, do we have, could we add supplement to this? It's about 26. Could we supplement another 4 or 5 street trees this year in the fall?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Well, we'll probably end up doing more than that. Yeah, because we'll have replacements of dead trees and stuff like that. So,
So do we want to talk about what, beyond the ones that have been requested already, where the next street tree priority would be?
are we talking like new street trees, like where there was previously no tree?
I mean, I asked the group that. That'd be my take on it. Yeah, available spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we, like, the documents I gave you are old, but I think at least they give an idea of what we could do if it was updated. And honestly, like, the numbers might change a little one way or the other, but they're not going to be dramatically different than what's on there. So, like I said, this is something I did, and it never really made it off my computer screen. So, and it was kind of trying to hit the right number of trees per year, but also at the same time rotating areas. So we didn't do like, you know, streets like right in a row with each other. We rotated it from one area of town to the other.
Yeah, I think that's important actually. And that I like the variety that's on here. You know, I guess one question I would have is I mean, part of our renewed emphasis on green infrastructure means that trees are incorporated into public projects. That's one of the reasons the Lake Avenue one is so important. Oh, and we got to go back. Andrew, did we answer your question about the ones in front of the hotel then?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I guess what I'm thinking is we should have some sort of an event around all those trees at Lake Avenue when we do it. I just want to start thinking about that.
Right. Well, that's what we're talking about, using it for publicity, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you know, so the goal is for trees to be incorporated into public projects. Well, because of that, not every tree that obviously the commemorative tree fund doesn't fund every tree planted anyway. It supplements Liz's budget. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if looking at this, you know, 10-year plan and seeing that in most years you could do 50 or more street trees, but we also have to have room both in budget and time to do the ones that go with public projects. Now, I don't know after Lake Avenue Streetscape what the next public project is. There may not be one until the Baltimore-Wilmington Streetscape, right? Or is there anything else?
Well, I mean, not to my knowledge, but those type of things, they should be incorporated into that project's budget.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They shouldn't be coming from, that should be part, say if we're going to budget $1.5 million for XYZ streetscape, 75,000 for landscaping or whatever should be included in there. It should be part of the project. It shouldn't be sitting off to its side in my budget necessarily.
Okay. But I mean,
I wouldn't include those when we're thinking about this type of stuff. I mean, and that's why I don't even think I include Wilmington no, I didn't include Wilmington and Baltimore for that reason, because even a couple of years ago when I did this, we were thinking about doing streetscapes there. So.
Right. And so that would be, okay. And at the same time, you know, I mean, we wouldn't be celebrating Lake Avenue Streetscape and making a big deal if Commemorative Tree hadn't contributed to it. So we augment, even though the expense of a lot of those trees came in the project, we're augmenting that, right? We're putting more there than might not normally have been done because of the Commemorative Tree.
It's increasing the number of trees planted in total. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I could have used regular funds to pay for those, but I thought it would be a good, like we've been talking about, a good example project. So.
Yeah. And I don't know, probably the only other big public project I know of this year is like the Delaware Avenue restrooms, but there's no room there for any trees, is there, or is there?
I don't know it really. I don't know anything about that project. I'm pretty sure there are trees there now though, pines.
Well, so
grapes.
that could be something that, I mean, it's real close to the boardwalk, so I don't know if that makes it less.
They're on the back. Yeah, it's harder to plant, but they're on the back. There's at least a couple of crepe myrtles that are on that like back edge, so that they don't get the ocean breeze, so to speak,
Right.
the salt.
And
That's probably how they've lived.
And those are probably gonna, hopefully they'll be protected, so, you know, but yeah.
I don't know.
I'll have to see about that. Okay, so that's a possibility in terms of a
What
public.
about the tot lot? How's that?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. Yes, good question. The tot lot, Liz.
What about it?
What's the timing?
On what?
Well, both. I guess the equipment has to go in first, then your plants, right?
Yeah, but since we're not really taking anything out, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna do some trees there as like as part of the landscaping. I think I set aside like 25,000, but certain things have come in under budget at this point, so I might have a little bit more money. So we'll see. You know, it's never. That's why projects you always add 10% because things never come under budget. So.
So then,
but so far it is.
Now that we don't have a lot to replace, we don't have to replace a lot there, right? Is what you're saying?
No, we're at maybe I think just the one has to come out where like half of the tree like splits out over the existing playground. I think that's the only one that really can't stay.
And do you know the timing? Has it been torn out yet? The current one? I walked by yesterday. I forgot to look. Okay.
No, they're gonna demo it at the same time they put down the wood fiber for the rest of the playground. So they'll do all that, and then I forget how many weeks we still have on the manufacturer to deliver the equipment. But it was, I think when we did our initial budget meetings, it was like 10. By the time April 1 rolled around, we chose everything. It had gone to 12, I think. Yeah, that manufacturer backlog at the factory.
Right. That's not okay. So
it's not as bad as it could be.
Right. Yeah. No, it's actually not too. But you wouldn't put them in the.
Well, apparently the new thing now is not even the manufacturer delays, just overall, not specifically playground. But apparently the new thing is the manufacturing is kind of catching up, but they can't find any truck drivers to deliver what they've now manufactured. So it's an interesting world out there.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I was going to do, we have some pockets like in the playground, like we originally just spec'd it for budgetary purposes as a rectangle, whatever it was, 60 by 70, I can't remember. But when we actually go to do the surfacing, there'll be curves in and out of that 60 by 70 rectangle. So the surfacing will be a little less. So in those pockets, we can do like, depending on the size, bench, picnic table, little sensory garden. So we'll see how that all lays out with the final plan. Okay. And that'll inform how much money we have left to do the trees in the little garden. So,
Liz, what tree, I guess what I think about that place, what tree would survive that has some ability to provide shade? What are the options over there?
I think you're getting into the weeds a little, but there's a bunch of, if you're looking at deciduous, there's a bunch of salt tolerant deciduous trees. Some of them aren't native, none of them are invasive that we would use, but there's a whole, you can Google it. I think it's University of North Carolina has a good list, but some of them do spec trees that we know now are invasive, so you do have to keep an eye out for that too, just depending. But there's a whole slew of them. It's just a little bit different than our normal planting, but not dramatically so.
We're going back because I want to leave a few minutes to talk about the tree ordinance because I have an update there, but just to sort of close this out. So do you have areas that you'd be looking at next for street tree priorities, like from your list? I mean, would you do did Maryland rise to the top of the list because it's the first one on here? Would would King Charles?
I mean, I think that's why you brought it to the meeting, was so that you guys could discuss and see what you wanted to support / endorse. And if we have that buy-in, and then we can use it for budgetary purposes in the future and do what we can this year since the budget's already set.
Right.
So,
You know,
so
we
on
can
this,
just
Yeah, go ahead.
so on this list here, when we have the, when, 1 year, 2 years, is this based on need in that particular location, or what's that based on?
So as I said before, it's based on making the number of trees add up correctly so that some years aren't 150 and some years aren't 20. And then also rotating areas around the city so that no one area is really favored over another. Although there obviously are way more vacant spaces in South Rehoboth than say like the Pines, where there's no sidewalks and it's heavily treed. So it need factors into that to an extent. But for example, like some of the streets that might have the highest number, like Newcastle, is a little bit lower on the priority list because you plant 85 trees on Newcastle, you're only benefiting the, say, 300 homes on Newcastle. So it's a balance. So you can say we can plant 15 trees on Maryland that benefits 2 blocks, or spend 85 that benefits 2 blocks.
Sure. So it's essentially priority. That's the way that's listed.
I mean, I didn't have a priority ranking list where I assigned them points and did stuff like that. So I don't want it to make it seem like it was that well thought out, honestly. But it was far from haphazard as well. So somewhere in the middle.
But so we could take say the first 3 years and sort of move around on there, that sort of thing.
You guys can move around whatever doesn't matter to me, I guess is the way I want to put it. It's, it's just a starting point. And like I said, those numbers will be somewhat incorrect just because we've had tree plantings and tree removals and stuff like that over the years.
Okay.
So, what do we want to support in terms of a priority for street trees, let's say for this year, for the fall, knowing that we, probably aren't going to be doing 50 this fall, but are there specific areas within there that we want to target?
Is that for?
It's open for discussion.
So, and sorry, I'm forgetting again. How many are we talking for this year?
Well, I don't know, because in adding up what we're already doing, it looked like we only had space for about 5 more, but then Liz said there's more, she has a higher budget even than what we supporting. So I don't know how many. Liz, how many more could you do in the fall?
I'd have to go through all my budget numbers. I don't know off the top of my head.
But more than 5.
Yeah, more than 5 for sure. I mean, that's not very much at all.
So we could say maybe 10, 15. I mean, just ballparking. I'm trying to get an idea of, because we have a lot to work with here. There over the course of these years. I mean, there are several hundred, few hundred here. So are we looking at not more than 5, but less than 25, right?
I wouldn't even feel comfortable telling you that number right now, honestly.
Okay, well, maybe then we'll talk about this at a subsequent meeting.
Well, what you can do is,
we've got a little bit of time. Right.
We'll just say whatever trees we have that we can complete one of these numbers. So if we have 22 trees, then we'll do the 21 on Munson. If we have 16 trees, we'll do the 15 on Maryland. But we can plan out everything from there, knowing that there's, like you said, it's a working document, that there's fluidity to it.
So I guess, so this is leading to this is kind of where I was getting with the other question too. So when you're talking about if we get 21, say, and we want to plan out 15 on Maryland, is that really the approach, or do we do like, I don't know, 8 on Maryland, 3 on Christian, 5 on, Delaware?
No, definitely want to do it by blocks.
Okay.
When you start going all over the place, you'll have different tree sizes, different species. Like when you order, say, 10 Nissa sylvatica, they're all going to be pretty similar Nissas coming from the same nursery. You can get them again from the nursery the next year, and they may not quite be the same, a little bit different form or something like that. So it's definitely better, and in terms of maintenance, because when you we take a block by block approach to maintenance, initial and long-term pruning, you end up so scattered, splitting everywhere. It's much better if they're in one place.
So, okay, that's
That is common. That's how municipalities do it.
okay. So that's just my lack of understanding about that. My only concern was when you're doing all the planting on one block like that, do you have then to plan for that whole block being replaced in the future or whatever? Or what's the how long do we plan for these trees to exist? What do you talk about? That's what I'm looking
Well,
for. Are they going to die
depends
off
on
all at the same time? Do they get hit with?
Yeah, you have
disease all
to
at the
plan.
same
You have to
time?
plan for replacements if that's what you're asking, fill-ins, and that's why I have on that little matrix. It doesn't account for replacing dying trees.
Right.
So you'll have to allow a certain number of those every year. And some years you won't have many, and some years you will. Some species will do really well, and some you think that'll do really well don't. And it's just, the way of the natural world when you shove trees in a 3-foot wide strip and,
Understood. Yep. Absolutely.
But I would say that you have to account maybe for like a 10% replacement over time. But, some trees may be shorter lived, like a purple plum may live 20, 25 years. Another species may live 50. So.
Right. That's sort of what I was getting at. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would want to do a whole block at a time, basically.
Yeah, makes the most sense.
Okay. Well, maybe we can sort of hone in on that now. Elise.
I thought in a previous meeting when we talked about this, when you asked us our priorities, we had landed on Munson as one of our priorities. So I just wanted to throw that out again and kind of just finish up Munson if we had the trees.
Yeah, and I'm actually wondering now, especially since this is not recent information, is that 21 on Munson maybe too many? In other words, have we already done half or more of those? Or are there still 21 spots on Munson?
This is not Country Club Estates.
Oh, okay, it's the south, but then there's only one block of Munson that's not in Country Club Estates. That's the 200 block.
Mm-hmm.
So are there room for 21 trees on that block? I guess there must be because we haven't done any there.
There might be some spaces planted now. I feel like we had some street trees done there, but I can't, a few at most.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we had talked about that one. That's for sure. We've talked about that one before.
Okay.
I want to look at that.
Well, and we can finish out Munson this year. I think we'll have that number. I think that'll be fine. And then we can plan like budgetary for the future, because that'll make the rest of everything fall in line. If we average 50 trees a year at $600 or whatever it may be, here's how much money we're projecting for a commemorative tree. Here's how much money in the regular budget needs to be accounted for the rest of them. Plus the maintenance, which isn't super expensive, but.
Okay. Well, anything, any other questions about that? Okay, then we'll probably try to tie that up at a future meeting, but maybe it sounds like we're leaning toward doing Munson since we had already pegged then anyway.
Well, my suggestion would be that we do that for this year, kind of plan on it, but that we make a somewhat formalized, but a somewhat approvable document that we can take forward so that come budget time for the commissioners, we have, hey, this was the city arborist and the tree and green infrastructure committee kind of want to put this forward for the public and for budgetary, because it's important that it's a public document too, right? So that if you live on St. Lawrence Street, the intent is in 2025, we're going to be planting that out.
So we do need to look ahead a few years anyway.
Yes. I mean, I think it's fine to do the numbers all the way out. And like I said, it's always a working document, but maybe the species are only a couple of years out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So that way,
okay,
you kind of have an idea of what's coming up. The public the information is public and they can kind of get on board a year or two in advance.
Okay. All right. Well, then good. Well, so then before budget time, you're saying we would finalize this sort of 10-year plan.
Yeah, 10 or 12 or whatever it's come into. And what we would do is if we could get, like I said, those numbers may change a few either way, but if we can get kind of a priority order that the committee can agree on, then I can go back and finish all those numbers, update them, knowing that they could change, right? So we have new houses being built all the time, street tree removal requests every month. But that's only a few here and there. If it's 85, it's not going to suddenly increase to 150 or 20 or decrease to 25.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Well, it's a good start, I think. Andrew, you still going to be able to be with us for another 5 minutes or so?
I have to leave. Put it on the put it on the agenda for next time.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
I will definitely do that.
Bye all.
Thanks.
Sorry.
The update I wanted to give you on the tree ordinance is somewhat complicated, but I'm hoping it will all sort of even out next time. And that is that you may remember that last month I talked about taking all of you all's comments, which were, there were a number of them, but they were mostly in, a few categories, and it wasn't voluminous by any means. But that the mayor had asked me to also look at the planning commission version of the ordinance. And I was going to try to bring some comments from that or some provisions from that into my little matrix that I'd worked on. Well, long story short, in the process of doing that, what I discovered is the planning commission ordinance draft from 2014, which was actually never discussed at all. It was never tabled. It was never anything, is vastly more comprehensive than the one that is on the table now. And so in the process of bringing that in, it essentially means that we should probably be looking at that one as a baseline and deleting from it or bringing elements from the Law Oversight Committee and from your comments into it rather than the other way around, because otherwise I'm just going to be repeating it all to bring it in. And just as an example, so my task is actually to do that before several weeks before the next meeting, so that we can come to the next meeting and really sit down. And I was going to do like a red line version or a version with all of your input from the current ordinance into this more comprehensive one, so that we can discuss it at the next meeting and maybe reach some conclusions about the whole thing. So I hope that doesn't sound too confusing. But my motivation here was twofold. First of all, in looking at, I realized even though I had sent out the planning commission ordinance at one point, I think I'd sent you both of them because the mayor had said we should look at both of them. It's actually buried in a 40-page report. So it's hard to, it's really hard to wrap your head around the ordinance portion when there's so much else in that report. And I also didn't have a version I could manipulate or add comments to. I do now. I have a Word version of it, which will make it easier for me to incorporate comments and changes and get it out to you. But what I liked about it is it was 2 articles. The first article is on city parks and the Shade Tree Commission and regulations for city trees. Everything from the species to be planted and the spacing and the distance from curbs and sidewalks and how trees are handled under utilities, maintenance, the Arbor's right to compel removal of dead or diseased trees, even on private property. There were a lot of city regulations in there, which I think is good because so much of what we do is public property. And then Article 2 was the shade tree ordinance that gets into the removal permits and the tree plans and the species to be planted and the tree planting requirements and all of that. And the emphasis really was on, first of all, shade trees, native shade trees, right tree, right place, and making it easier for the city arborists to concentrate on protected trees being anything over 4-inch caliper. In other words, that all the little trees wouldn't really count anymore, I guess, for lack of a better word. That those could be removed without an arduous process, but that beyond that, there would still be tree removal permits. And so it simplifies it, but at the same time, this covers everything. And I think we need that in order to have it on the books, to have every element of both city and private covered. So that's my plan, is to get something to you all in a couple of weeks that we can react to and hopefully within a couple of meetings finalize. That makes sense?
Sounds great.
Should we talk about the next meeting date? And I know that Elise will be out of town and maybe can call in, maybe not, but we will be meeting in person. So the date on the calendar right now is June 11th. Does that work for everybody? So far?
Yeah, yep, sounds good.
Okay, and I think Katie had actually told me it worked for her. And I think there was a problem this morning with Liza signing on. I believe I got some messages for her that I couldn't read during the meeting, but I think there was a problem. So I know she intended to be here, and I don't know exactly what happened, but we'll solve that going forward. So it'll be June 11th, which actually means I only have 3 weeks because we met a week later this time.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. And so do any committee members have any comments?
No.
Okay, and Andrea wanted me to add, what she was alluding to add next time is she's doing a flyer that she wants to pass out to homeowners that have ivy growing on their trees to about how important it is to remove that. So she's writing something up, and we've talked about, how to distribute it, and she wants to bring that forward. So that's what that's about.
Okay.
So I'll add that next time.
I guess, Susan, to that
Yeah.
point, do we have anything on ivy on the city website? I just don't remember.
I can't remember either, Liz. Do you know? Do we have anything on
No, it's just really tree maintenance, tree care, tree pruning.
Okay, so we could
That's
put
the
the
point.
flyer on the website too.
Yeah, whatever document we create, we definitely ought to put it there. No question about it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, if there's not anything else, it was now 11:01, pretty good.
Wow,
And
good.
I think the next meeting will be longer. I remember, when Tony was chair, she tried to keep it, I think, at an hour and a half. There were a few that went to 2 hours. They mostly didn't. But I would like to allot more than an hour, because if we're working on the tree ordinance, it's probably going to take that. And then we also may want to move forward with the next iteration of the planting plan. So we'll have some long meetings coming up. Longer anyway.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. And the meeting is adjourned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.